Recorded these a while ago, and I don't remember all the details, so there won't be too in-depth commentary. If you want a more thorough floor breakdown, check out the Slash version. The party and equipment setups are located at the end, with chapters and visible labels. Fire 21 is a basic duo floor with the bird gaining evasion and the beast gaining debuff immunity, but they fold easy enough. And this was before the influx of strong fire units like Buffer Sophie and New Resna, so we still relied on the classics of Base Ryza, Free Resna, and Wilbel. The usual strats apply, sacrificing units for timeline position, and Toturi dies here to make way for Ryza's burst down the line. Base Ryza was the original S2 attacker, and it still hits plenty hard, bolstered now by a larger cast of supporters. The bird is shifted onto the red panel, blunting its attack before Ryza's burst bypasses its evasion for the clear. GG. Fire 22 is the most basic floor pattern, with a single boss ghost. I don't have the damage to one-shot it with a single Ryza S2, so Liddy dodges the single target attack, and it falls to the burst in round 2. A lot of enemies in the tower extensions have randomized attacks. Rolling for specific actions and rolling for crits have replaced the original tower meta of rolling for specific timelines. For some fights, we can still get away with off-attribute units, so Slash Rorona and Defender Liddy help minimize these factors for now. GG. Fire 23 is the dreaded item floor with the 90% attack damage debuff, forcing you to use items for damage output. The enemies have strong AoE attacks that still deal considerable damage through 3 copies of all target defense V. We'll be relying on healer Stera and Judy bursts to mitigate this a bit, though defenders like Patty or Ice Aisha may be more effective if you're manually controlling bursts and item usage. Marion accelerates item cooldown. Mary contributes break to direct the auto-targeting, and Linka's debuffs boost the damage from our lava cubes. There's a precise timing to maximize the item gauge gains from Marion's skill 2s and bursts, otherwise her kit is mostly useless. Like here, between her burst and the gauge gain from her receiving an attack, items are ready by the next character's turn, allowing Linka to item onto the burst panel. We also need timely breaks to divert the targeting to minimize wasting debuffs, with normal attacks where possible. After eliminating the first slag, we've bought some time to refresh and stack some defensive buffs ahead of the next wave of attacks. The break here can be a bit tight with so many traits dedicated to defense. Once the second ad is killed, the devil will enrage after a certain number of actions, switching to attacks that will almost assuredly kill you, unless you have some sort of 100% damage reduction. It also gains 3 hits of invincibility at a certain HP threshold, making it harder to actually defeat it before then. And as mentioned before, the break is rough, with Linka burst into Mary S2 falling short here and requiring the Marion burst after. We need enough item damage to trigger the invincibility here, so that the rare Stera attack starts to chip away the stacks. Linka wipes out the second, and Marion's bursts the third, fully eliminating the barrier without wasting any item uses into it. The breakers get deleted, but the others hold out long enough to finish. The damage requirement is somewhat high to clear in time before the devil wipes everyone, though having access to skill 1's on manual makes it much easier to deal with the barrier and get more rounds of items in between its turns. GG. Fire 24 is the no buff floor, the boss requiring 4 debuffs before it takes damage. And the 90% reduction to buff effect makes it hard to use normal items or skills for crit rate, so we'll bring Agent Wilbell instead for the guaranteed crit panels. The challenge is then to get the timing right, so that the crit panels are generated in front of the bursts and base Wilbell actually has items ready exactly on her turn, so she can step from the crit panel onto the burst panel. This requires Marion, specific speed tuning, Memoria, and item recharge gear, so you can check out the full setup at the end. Things like break or kill timing are also important, since shifting unit positions will affect where Agent Wilbell generates her panels. Since the AI uses items as soon as possible, besides on burst panels, we're not able to delay the item usage, and we need the Marion burst here to be able to finish a full recharge cycle in time for Wilbell's next turn. The first Wilbell burst clears the trash, but there's still a lot left on the boss, forcing us to repeat the setup again, much deeper into the timeline. We need the boss burst here for the single target attack that drops Marion, setting up the crit panel into burst panel for Wilbell. The plan is simple in theory, but hard to make the auto AI execute. GG. Fire 25 is the counter floor with the sheep and golem armed with instant kill counterattacks that are disabled upon killing the Punis. We speed tune free Resna and base Ryza to move after the sheep to get the correct auto-targeting, each taking out one enemy off of Agent Wilbel's crit panels. Roll the sheep's single target to not kill either attacker, and we're done. GG. Fire 26 is the non-attacker floor, with the massive debuff to attacker damage forcing you to use other rolls for damage output. We need a specific turn order, giving the slag the red panel so no one dies, then using items and shifting positions before Sophie sets her blue panels. With buff B gear for all the supporters, Mary is strong enough to clear the ads with just her skill too. Another round of support and items, and Mary's burst takes it. GG. Fire 27 requires killing the mushroom before you can damage the bats, among other gimmicks. We've somehow come this far before using a Fierce Initiative setup, which this barely counts as. The bats break trivially before they buff, allowing Azana to crack them, opening up plenty of room for Ryza to get some hits in. Three Ryza S2s and we're done. GG.
それじゃ始めますかね。勝ちに行きましょう。勝たないとね。よそ見している暇はないわよ。
Fire 28 is a red Puni floor, each triggering various effects upon death.
炎の恵み。
We need a certain mix of single target and AoE attacks to have everyone survive properly.
一気に決めちゃうよ。それ助かった。もう一丁ありがとう。気合い入れて助かった。クラクラこれをどうぞ。ありがとう。少しはやりそうね。さあ何が出るかな。
Killing the Punis here would activate all the effects right before the ghost's AoE, ensuring a wipe, so we need to not be overzealous with the damage.
わかったわ。徹夜後みたい。よそ見している暇はないわよ。全力で行かせてもらう。熱くなってきた。
And this is a rare case of the blue plus panel from Heidi's burst being useful, overriding the red panel guarding the burst.
勇気が湧いてくる。しびれる音色をと。
And Marion's item gauge charge upon taking hits has items ready just in time for Wilbell to combo from Heidi's generated panel into burst for the win.
今なら何だってできちゃうよ。これ使うよ。もう一丁助かった。それありがとう。うわあ私をほっとっておきを見せ。空よ落ちてきなさい。どうすごいでしょ。
Or close enough.
この服だからかノリがいい。元気出していこうよ。助かった。これでいこう。まだまだまだ。しびれる音色を届けるよ。ちょっと待ってあんまり調子がよく入れよ。魔法のかぼちゃ爆弾。ちょっと手加減しすぎたかしらね。
GG.
それじゃ始めますかね。戦うしかない。炎の恵みありがとう。
Fire 29 is the new ailment floor. Targets afflicted with any ailment taking extra damage.
あんまり調子がよく入れよ。魔法のかぼちゃ爆弾。クラクラ。
Judy's 275 weight puts her first turn behind the enemies, setting up the item timing and turn order to tag them all with the AoE paralysis item and nuke them with Wilbell burst.
危ないじゃない。
We need the slightly unconventional order of Rorona being slower than Wilbell to have Wilbell land on the burst panel while also having a crit buff up.
当たって。炎の恵みありがとう。まだまだ力が。目を離さないでね。私をほっとっておきを見。空よ落ちてきなさい。どうすごいでしょ。
And with that, everything just melts, making way to the final floor. GG. The gimmick for Fire 30 involves hitting enemies with off-attribute attacks, each applying a 50% damage up debuff to the boss, up to a max of 300%. Starting off, we need to roll for the sheep's support action, since we'll kill the other two immediately but don't want it to hit us. Wave 2 opens with an AoE that kills any non-fire units, in an attempt to force you to use units from the focus attribute. Normally, you could smuggle off-attribute units like /Rorona into the second wave by applying Rose Liddy's AoE invincibility barrier using her burst before clearing the first wave. You'd then use their S1s to tag the boss a few times before nuking it, but we don't have that option on auto. Instead, we'll bring Liddy's other half, leveraging both of her gimmicks, the skill 2 evasion buff and the item charged knockback. With no surviving off-attribute units for Wave 2 and no space for crit rate stuff, we're just rolling crits off of El Resna's 2 first wave buffs. Now for the cool part. Sue's dodge allows her to brush off the dragon's off-attribute filter AoE. Then her double-charged knockback will delay it enough to get in all the necessary setup for the kill. The items are timed perfectly so that Ryza can lay down an off-attribute hit, followed by 2 dark waters immediately before her attack. We need to roll for the dragon's second attack to be single target. Then as long as Ryza isn't hit, she can item again into the blue panel for the kill. GG. My fire gear is quite lacking, but the important thing is to have enough damage on Wilbell to kill off the Punis immediately, which felt like a pretty high requirement, then clear the sheep on the second pass before Ryza's turn. Ryza ideally needs to kill the dragon in 2 hits. Seemed easier to do than the Wilbell part, and we manage with some mismatched gear. We're using a single non-fire attack item with high debuff traits to trigger the gimmick. AoE would be better, but didn't have a good one. Then the AoE Dark Waters help clear the first wave. The rest is just the setups for each floor. Most of it is dictated mainly by speed tuning or item gauge, nothing too exciting. My fire gear was quite lacking, as was my attacker Memoria, and a few major things weren't released yet. It's most likely much easier now, so I doubt this is even that relevant. But if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Here's the high requirement setup for the item floor. Defensive 10s, specific speeds, trait level 9 breaker gear with area defense V. The lava cubes are destruction 9, 7, and 7. For the no-buff floor 24F, we need amulets on both Marion and base Wilbur to get the item timing to work out, as well as the starting item gauge Memoria on Marion. For the 25F counterfloor, we're speed-tuned so Wilbur drops crit panels after items, then Resna follows the sheep to kill the Puni, and Ryza follows after her to kill the golem. (26F is non-attacker DPS, and we've geared Mary for damage output, with the relevant buffers switching to whatever buff B gear I had available. Rip Masterpiece Memoria. How often I feel I should have gone with the fish. (28F is the red Puni floor where we need to avoid killing them in the first round, so there are slight concessions trading damage for survival.